Welcome to Crimson Guitars and welcome to episode 200 of the Guitar Builders Basics video podcast. With his tips, tricks and training from me, Ben Crow at Crimson Guitars. And as it is episode 200, we have a slight change and a special thing going on. But it's not just for this episode. In a continuing bid to improve what we do, and I sound like a politician, don't I? Ha! In a continuing bid to improve what we do, what we put out, and how we teach online and in person. We have decided to slightly consolidate some of the videos that we put out. So instead of doing a talking head Guitar Builders Basics, which has pretty much been the format since day one, every single Guitar Builders Basics video from now on will also be a mini-tutorial. In other words, I will answer a question or decide, as is the case today, on a topic and just do it, but actually video and show the basic idea of what I'm talking about. And this is consolidating two videos. It means we will be putting out one less video a week on the average week, but the stuff that you do get will be hopefully more interesting and more useful because I'll be doing things, or will be doing things. Anyway, I'm quite excited about this. Today, one of the most commonly asked questions that we get is, does the baking soda and superglue trick actually work? Is it worth doing? How do you do it? And this is something that you don't have to be a guitar builder or guitar repair person. You just have to have a guitar that needs this done. It's something that we get asked a lot. So I thought, why not? Let's do that today. So the baking soda and superglue trick is a lifesaver, okay? I don't personally use baking soda, and it doesn't have to be. It has to be any fine dust. So if you have a carbon fiber nut, for example, use carbon fiber. If you have a bone nut, use bone. So create some bone dust. Yes, that does sound slightly suspicious. Anyway, for this, we will require some tools. Nut slotting files, some bone, scalpel blade, superglue, stand-up superglue, a fine file, in this case a fret end dressing file, some sandpaper, and some masking tape, and a guitar. Here's one I built earlier. 2009 to be precise. Okay, the nut doesn't actually need anything, but I needed a guitar, preferably with a bone nut, so here we go. Now, the problem that we have with this process is you are essentially trying to build up a slot that's relatively fine, that has a piece of metal in it, and in the case of wound strings, that piece of metal is essentially a file. So if you fill it with something soft, or if you leave air gaps underneath, you are not going to have a good time of things at all. Now, a step that most people forget and don't do is, before you do anything, you have to clean the slot out. Okay, your slot is already wrong. It's too deep. Taking a little bit of material out is not going to cause any problems. Now, the reason we're doing this is you're a guitarist. You know what sort of level of crap gets left in a guitar just through the sheer awesomeness of playing it. And some of that goes in the nut, and we want our superglue and dust to stick, basically. Okay, the nut slot is prepared, and let us protect our guitar as well. This is another thing that many people forget. So it's a little piece of masking tape and any glue. Come on then, let's do it this way. Any glue that does spooge over the edges will not cause a problem. Next up, we need some bone dust. I have got 320 grit paper on this leveling beam, and that's all I really need. Speaking of paper, you do need something with which to collect the dust. So just a piece of A4, folded in the middle so we've got somewhere to collect it, and a random piece of bone that I just happen to have floating around my studio. Say no more. Leveling beam. Now we're not talking about a lot of dust at all. They will do just fine. Our nut is clean. We have some glue. Medium viscosity super glue, there we go, which you can't see in focus. Now, what people tend to do is just spooge it on there, which isn't necessarily good. What I do is, okay, I wouldn't normally do it here, but hey, I would normally put a piece of a dot of glue off camera somewhere, but that just actually works. So spot of glue carefully in the slot, and that wicks from end to end and is not spooging everywhere. Now, here's our paper. There's our dust completely missing the entire thing. I'm going to need to make more of that in a second. And in order to do the job properly, we need to build it up in a couple of passes. Now I'm using an old scalpel here that is set aside for this purpose. And I'm compressing the dust and the glue. Now the dust helps the glue set almost instantly. But that there is part of the process. So off to make a little bit more dust and repeat the process. Back to the glue. Add some more dust. And compress it down. I've let it cure a little bit before I put the final application. And what I'm doing here is actually probably filling the slot a little bit more than is required. But it shows the process rather well. Now, because I'm compressing this down, it's going to be tight and solid underneath the string and as close to the original material as we can possibly get. Now, I'm going to leave this to cure for at least half an hour before we come back and do anything. Goodbye. And we're back. So, what you have now is a pile of dust. I've not put a final sealer coat of glue on top of the dust. It's not required. I feel like that weakens the whole thing. Now, using a fine file, take away the excess glue that's on the top of the nut. If you are particularly delicate, you can use a chisel or a scalpel blade, and that tends to not damage the nut if you use a sharp scalpel blade, unlike this one. The problem is it can pull, if you haven't cleaned the slot properly, it can pull glue out of it, which is less ideal. So a file is probably your safest bet. Now, The camera is currently in my way. I would normally do this from the other side. There's only a little bit of excess in the way there. And at this point, we have a filled nut slot. What I need to do is find the nut slotting file that I've literally misplaced. Oh my gosh, where is it? How could I lose a file? I haven't gone anywhere. Aha! Success. At this point, I'm recutting the slot, taking it down a bit, and now it is safe to put the string in to a certain extent. This glue should probably cure over 24 hours. So what I would do is put the string in lightly, not to full tension. Now the string is located in the correct place, but not cut to full depth. The glue will cure. It will still potentially, depending on the mix, depending on how much dust versus glue you've got in there, it will still compress to a certain extent. And at this stage, especially if you're using a wound string, if it's a slot for a wound string, you can still remove the material. It just hasn't cured properly. Patience. Patience in all things. The aphorism, slow is steady, steady is fast. And there are a few things worse than rework, and I don't want to refill the slot, especially considering I didn't need to fix this one in the first place. But anyway, it's besides the point. Most of our videos, it's a guitar that I happen to be working on, and I think, hey, we'll film this. But this is a question that I wanted to do, and I couldn't find anything with the slots cut too low, which I suppose means we do rather well at the whole guitar building thing. Anyway, I'm going to leave this to cure, 24 hours or so. The string is under light tension, which will compress it down a little bit and make the whole thing even more solid. And there we go. The first Minotaurial Guitar Builders Basics crossover, and this is the way it's going to be from now on. It's a lot more fun to do, and I hope a lot more interesting. As ever, if you have a better, different, preferred method of doing this same job, if you spotted something that I didn't do, I am human, and at this point in my life know very, very well that I do not know everything. Please put it in the comments below. This is all about learning for me as well as for you, I hope. And yeah, I hope it's been useful. Please click like, subscribe. If you want to see more videos, consider supporting our Patreon, where I put out 2 videos a week minimum of this sort of stuff, answering questions and tutorials of the 90-hour build. Currently 20 odd episodes, I think. So yeah, I would really appreciate it if you would consider supporting that. And I need questions for this show. Please give me questions. Ask away. I'm not sure about the arm thing. I don't know why. Have a fantastic day. Go and make some dust. See you soon. The question is, do I have the patience to let this sit for 24 hours? Yes, I do. It's all good. Ooh, cool. See you soon. Bye.